One of the things I'm trying to do with this series is actually be educational and help people protect themselves. And I realize there's a gap in kind of what I've been teaching. So I just wanted to take a second to walk through that in the sense that if you're adding a security keys can fail. And you want to make sure that you have some backups. And so wherever possible, you want to make sure you're adding in a second security key. So I decided I was going to do today on Coinbase, if any of you have any cryptocurrencies. And I'm just going to start us out in the settings section, which is achieved by clicking on the face in the top right, and then ultimately clicking on settings. And then after settings, going to the security tab, and I'll go ahead and share that real quick. So let's jump over to my screen. So we're on my screen now on Coinbase, and we're in the settings by clicking on the face up here in the top right, clicking on settings, and then clicking on security. I'm obviously going to blur out the other two numbers in my phone numbers here and digits, so I will pause while I scroll to make this easier on me in editing. Okay, so if you notice here, I already have a security key. I already have their authenticator, and I have a security key, and they're saying, hey, listen, this is your default setting. But what I love about it is over here on the right, they say, listen, for maximum security, add a security key. And I think what they're really saying is, hey, a second security key. What they're really saying is that this one dies or if no longer functions or you've lost it or something, you have to burn it, whatever it might be, you're going to want to have a backup. And so I do have a backup. I've been implementing a backup on all my services, but it was prudent, I think, to go ahead and show you guys this and kind of how it sets up. So my normal is a 5C NFC. This is just an NFC and it's a USB-A model, but it'll still meet the requirements for most of the stuff we're going to do. I say most, there's certain features that the NFC doesn't support that the 5C does. But so we're going to go ahead and click on manage, and we're going to click on add another security key. And it's going to ask us to touch our security key to let it know that we are here. And so I'm actually going to pull my other security key and make sure this one's being detected, and it is. Okay, cancel. Oh, the magics of demonstration. Let's reload. Okay. Oh no, the first one was to validate who I am. I apologize. So in this process, it looks like the first one is asking me to touch the existing security key. And then the second one is to register this other one. So if you run into the same problem, it is going to ask you to validate yourself, which is really smart before. And if you notice in the background, it says last used 11 seconds, right? So it's definitely shifting back there. So let's begin registration. We're going to say okay. We're going to say okay. The security key already has a PIN. And maybe I'll take you guys through that too, if you haven't set up a PIN on one of these FIDO tokens. But I'm now going to touch that second security key, and it's registered. And so I should have two security keys in here. And I think it would be prudent probably to rename these since they use the same icon. And so we're actually going to call this Blue NFC rename, and we're going to call this, even though, and now I can validate with that key. So that's nice. I can leave the other one unplugged. And so we'll close this out. And let's go ahead, and it's a little bit annoying that you have to go back into that menu, but I'm going to go ahead and rename this other security key. We're going to call this black 5C. Rename. All right, and since I can do it with either of the keys, I'll just use the one that's still plugged in, which is security key 2. And we'll notice that we have security key 1 and 2, and they're repeated. They're both authentication methods. And the reason they do this is you should toss one of them in a safety deposit box, something where you have to go access it. It's much harder to lose. It's somewhere that's secure. And so I do keep mine in one of those means. I won't say exactly which, but I do keep my backup key, and I got it out for the purpose of this registration. And also to make sure that I'm adding all of these accounts as I go through this process to the duplicate key and being a good boy in that regard. So be safe. This has been another episode of Protecting Yourself with FIDO2. In this case, we're protecting ourselves with our Coinbase account. So actually where there's assets, where there's money potentially. So thank you so much.